Hey everyone, it's Ivan, kitbadger.com, out here today to introduce you to the battle rifle I always wanted. If you saw the video I did on my SCAR 20S in 6.5 Creedmoor, it was great. Like, eventually got a few kinks worked out, thing shot amazing, and it did a pretty good job. There, in my opinion, was a lot of shortcomings with that gun. And it wasn't like the battle rifle I wanted it to be. And you're like, oh, just get the SCAR 17. No, didn't really want it in 308. I prefer 6.5 Creedmoor. And yes, today I'm pretty sure they might actually have a SCAR 17 in 6.5. It still comes with like a short rail. So fortunately, the aftermarket will supply you with a longer rail if you want to actually reach further out or mount things further out. Again, aftermarket provides. But there were a number of things with that gun that, or with what used to be this gun, that I honestly didn't care for. So I set out on a journey to, make it mine and make it how I wanted it to be. There are a bunch of companies that came together to kind of make this thing what it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and basically break this thing down into all of its component parts so that I can go over everything kind of one by one.
1, 2, 3.
It's probably as far as I'm gonna break this down, so we'll start with this guy. This right here is the heart of the gun, serialized portion, everything like that. And with it, there's some things that I ended up changing. So Parker Mountain Machine, they do all kinds of stuff to include a lot of support for the actual SCAR platform rifles. And one of the things I initially did as soon as I got the SCAR 20S, because what I don't need in my life is just more pick rail, I ended up, they actually make these M-LOK sections. Basically replace all the pick rail that you would otherwise have on a SCAR 16, 17, or 20 with M-LOK. So you can actually attach things you want attached and not destroy everything with basically a cheese grater. So awesome upgrade. They also cut and thread barrels. This used to be a 20-inch barrel, and cool, get more velocity. Again, my application, like, no. I want something shorter and handier because I'm gonna probably run and gun with this thing. And 20 inches is great until you carry it on the backcountry, or for that matter, just run around shooting it. It gets pretty long, especially with a can on there. I know some people are like losing all that velocity. Maybe, but again, goes back to application. And I think with my 16-inch fix, 6.5 Creedmoor, shot an elk at 420. Definitely died. So again, one, limitations of gear as well as yourself as a shooter, and work within those. And the trade-off for me with a shorter barrel is, yeah, it's massive. So cut this thing, threaded it, got my cherry bomb back on there because love shooting suppressed. And also from them, got one of these guys. I have one that I could, if I want, put on the other side, but basically instead of these rings for like HK hooks or whatever else, it replaces it, and now you have a QD socket. So you can put slings on there. Then moving back, charging handles. This one, they come with basically a short and long, these guys right here, and non-reciprocating version, so I'm not worried about this thing going back and forth. So I swapped the long one over to this side, and then I got this guy right here from Kinetic Development Group. It's nice, one, aesthetic, but two, like functionality. I'm actually enjoying it, and yeah, basically I have that set up. Then moving back, this right here by Lingle Industries. So the original SCAR plate back here, it works, I guess. My stock always seemed a little bit loose on there on the SCAR 20, but they make this replacement one, which one gets rid of those, again, sling attachment points for like HK hooks, things like that, and it gives you a QD on either side, which is pretty sweet. And this one also has the like reinforced version, I guess we'll call it. Basically, there's a plate on this side and another plate on this side that screws through to hold this plate in. Why? Well, traditionally, SCARs seem to beat themselves to death. So a lot of things on this are basically the aftermarket's answer to FN apparently not warranting their guns when people shoot unsuppressed, and the guns basically killing themselves. So basically, the reciprocating mass comes back hitting this, and this whole rear plate would eventually just kind of blow out those screws and move this way. So it's now plated, more secure. And I think that pretty much does it for this. I will say I still have the SCARburator. Oh yeah, one other thing. I do have the SCARburator on here by MotoTech Engineering, adjustable, just click, click, click. I think 13 different settings. It's awesome. Went out, shot this for the first time today, now with a shorter barrel, and played with it. Had it throwing brass forward at like 1 o'clock, cranked it back, was throwing it at like 4:30, adjust it some more, kicking it at like 3 o'clock. And if and when this thing gets dirty, because I probably won't clean it, I can easily just crank it, open it up some, and shoot it more. But something else cool by Parker Mountain Machine, which this is upgraded with, is injectors, I guess it is. Think of it as a set screw, and they make different sizes. So when you put it in back here, basically it limits the amount of gas. And so you can, if you're just gonna run the 2-position, like factory gas block, you can get those from Parker Mountain Machine and essentially tune it. So when you go over to suppressed, you can reduce that gas more and yeah, hopefully not have your gun kill itself. Also by Parker Mountain Machine, this guy right here, which is a Picatinny rail for the back of the SCAR, which as it stands on the SCAR 20S, you basically have a non-folding stock, which pretty unimpressed with that thing. The like butt pad on it always seemed to have some play, which kind of weird for a precision stock. Again, sample size of 1, like that was my 1 stock, and there was always play in there. So this is nice because it opens the door to basically put any type of stock on here that attaches to Picatinny rail. And for that, with this guy right here, may or may not be able to close it. There we go. This right here is actually a stock by Occam Defense. If you're unfamiliar with Occam Defense, they're actually down in Moscow, Idaho. Make all kinds of AKs as well as AK parts, really cool stuff. And one of the things they make is the stock right here, as well as using this super beefy hinge. So I am able to use this, actually have the functionality of folding it because I don't need a buffer tube, being the SCAR. And yeah, works great. There's also all of these QD points on both sides. All of them are also anti-rotation, and if I'm feeling super bougie, I want to go pinky out, I can put some wooden panels in there. They're actually really cool, just they're aesthetic, but they actually make wooden panels that go into this recess portion if you want to do that. But right now I have it set up with this. Eventually I may try the B&T stock for the SCAR, which might be kind of cool, but yeah, right now I'm running this guy. Now some internal components. This guy right here by Lingle Industries, it is basically a upgraded like buffer, basically better material. So when the reciprocating mass bolt carrier group comes back, it basically hits this bottoms out, like you have in the buffer, that little, I don't remember what material it's made out of, on the end of your buffer. And this is kind of that. So that mass hits this, and this is just a improved material. So again, trying not to beat the gun to death. Are we seeing a theme here? And this right here is actually pretty cool along those same lines. This is by Imperial Arms Company, IC, yeah. And it is a buffered bolt carrier group. So again, trying not to have the gun kill itself. FN, thank you. And it's pretty cool. They essentially removed material where it is not needed, and so ultimately you have less mass moving back and forth, which creates a softer shooting gun, and again, reduces the chance of you breaking your gun by it killing itself. Pretty cool though. And lastly, 2 different offerings from 2 different companies. This one right here by Imperial Arms Company, and it is a SCAR lower. Again, that upper portion on the SCAR is actually serialized, so you can just purchase and swap out. Really nice. Why? Well, a number of reasons. One, on the SCARs, or at least the 17 and the 20, you end up with their magazines, which are expensive and not special. So why not have SR25 pattern mags, which these take, which is awesome. Now I can basically run a D50 in this thing if I want to. And in addition to that, you can also put any grip you want. So by way of example, right here is a Kung Fu grip by Die Free Company. This is their new brown version, black version right here. And again, not proprietary trigger, where you either have a crappy factory trigger or the upgraded trigger by Geisley, and those are your options. So pick one. Versus with these USGI parts, like again, parts compatibility. So you can put any trigger, any selector. I think this might be a Battle Arms Development on this one as far as selector. This one right here is a Radiant Talon. And triggers, velocity trigger in this one, and this one, I'm gonna forget. Probably, yeah, I'm gonna forget. I don't remember. I'll put it somewhere in the video. But yeah, another trigger. And with that, you also get some other kind of cool features too, depending on the lower receiver. This one right here, actually, one has a little bit bigger bolt catch, or bolt release, I guess. Bolt release it would be the top part, and which is nice depending. And then I appreciate that people just try different things. So this piece in the trigger guard, you can see it manipulates that. So if you press it up, you can basically push that up, lock the bolt to the rear, push it down inside that trigger guard, send the bolt forward. How useful is it? I don't know, but I think it's cool. Someone tried it, and I'll probably give it a go. So yeah, now I have all the pieces to the SCAR I want my SCAR to be. All of that said, how is this done for me? Well, went out today and shot it for the first time, shooting both lowers, just trying them out, trying different triggers. Also, quick aside, this guy right here, apparently pretty easy to convert this to full auto. So it's probably going to be a full auto SCAR 20 in my near future, or whatever we want to call this SCAR now, since it is no longer a 20. But yeah, this thing's a lot of fun, man. Really enjoyed it. Went out today, shot it for the first time, got it zeroed. The optic on here, primary arms, SLX MD25. Inside there's basically a big donut, and then a little chevron and some drops. Think of it as it's a red dot with a reticle built into it. So rather than just a dot. And yeah, pretty fun. Shot basically on paper, like made sure I was close, took it to 100 yards, shot some more, find that group, and then I was like, all right, let's stretch this thing out, and shot it out of distance. Pretty good 0 to 100, moving to steel, 12-inch plate. Going to the 6-inch plate. Moving back to 200 steel. Kind of hard to see. All shot out around it. Try the 6-inch. Pretty hard to see. 300. Yeah. Not bad for this little red dot. 400. There you go. Pretty sweet. As I said, I really like this thing. Like, it is turning into the gun like I wanted it to be. And moving forward, I will of course put in more time with all of these different components, making it what it is now, and continue shooting it. And eventually bring you guys a full review. But pretty excited to be kind of down my path on making this SCAR into the battle rifle I wanted it to be. But there'll be links down below if you want to check all this stuff out. And yeah, as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.